The welding torch threw sparks across the darkness of space, each one dying instantly in the void. David Walsh watched through the reinforced window as another section of hull plating locked into place on the massive structure outside. For 18 months, the construction yard had been growing something that made the Galactic Council observers very nervous. Nobody had built a warship like this before, not in 12,000 years of recorded galactic history. Walsh ran his hand across the design schematic on his desk. 3 kilometers of reinforced composite armor, redundant power systems, backup computers for the backup computers, launch bays that could deploy 200 strike craft in under 4 minutes. The Council species built their warships like graceful birds. Humanity built theirs like angry fortresses. A knock on his office door interrupted his thoughts. Rilth entered without waiting for permission, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence the way Brevali did when they were upset. The compliance officer had been sent by the Galactic Council to make sure Earth followed proper military construction protocols. "Engineer Walsh, I must file another concern," Rilth said, her translator giving her voice a metallic edge. "Your armor plating is 40 centimeters thick. Council standard is 8 centimeters with energy shielding." Walsh leaned back in his chair. "We have shields too. The armor is for when shields fail." "Shields do not fail if properly maintained." "Everything fails eventually," Walsh said, "especially when someone is shooting at you." Rilth's manipulator appendages twitched. In the 6 months she had been stationed here, she had filed 47 formal complaints about human construction methods. Every single one had been politely ignored by Earth's shipbuilding authority. "Your species has been part of the Galactic Council for only 5 years, Rilth continued. "Perhaps you do not understand proper warship design. I can arrange for Brevali engineers to consult." Walsh pulled up a historical file on his screen and turned it toward her. "This is the battleship Missouri, built by humans 300 years ago, 40,000 tons of steel armor, took multiple direct hits from other battleships and kept fighting. We know exactly what we're doing." Rilth looked at the primitive ocean vessel and made a sound her translator could not process. "You are building a space warship based on ancient sea warfare." "We're building based on what works," Walsh said. "Your people achieved space travel through peaceful cooperation with other species. The Torrent Collective discovered quantum drives through scientific exchange. The Ashkan Unity reached the stars by sharing resources. Humanity got here by fighting each other for 10,000 years. We learned some hard lessons." The Brevali officer was quiet for a long moment. Outside, another section of armor plating moved into position. The structure that would become the carrier Phoenix was taking shape, looking nothing like the elegant Council warships with their smooth curves and aesthetic designs. "The Council maintains peace through 3 major military powers," Rilth said finally. "Brevali Hegemony, Torrent Collective, and Ashkan Unity. Our fleets balance each other. We have not had major conflict in 800 years. "That's wonderful," Walsh said. "But the Ravager swarms don't care about your balance. They've already destroyed 2 of your frontier fleets." Rilth's eyes all focused on him at once. "The Ravagers are a minor threat, automated ships with limited intelligence. Our strategists predict containment within 2 years." Walsh did not argue. He had seen the classified reports that Rilth had not. The Ravagers were not minor. They were not limited. And they were not going to be contained by elegant warships that relied on shields and long-range energy weapons. "I would like to inspect the main hangar bay," Rilth said. Walsh stood and led her through the corridor that connected his office to the construction yard. They passed through 3 airlocks before entering the massive space where the Phoenix's hangar was being assembled. The bay could hold 200 strike fighters, each one designed for close-range combat. Rilth looked at the launch tubes and her translator made a choking sound. "These are primitive projectile weapons. Council fighters use plasma accelerators." "Plasma is energy efficient," Walsh agreed. "Kinetic rounds are simple, hard to jam, hard to defend against, and when you fire 1,000 of them at once, something is going to hit." "Your entire philosophy is barbaric." "Our entire philosophy is effective." A communication panel on the wall chirped. Walsh activated it, and a woman's face appeared. She had the calm eyes of someone who had seen combat and survived it. "Engineer Walsh, this is Captain Ann. Rodriguez, I'm inbound to take command of the Phoenix. Estimated arrival in 6 hours." Walsh smiled. "Welcome, Captain, your ship will be ready." Rodriguez nodded once and the connection ended. Rilth turned to Walsh with all four eyes wide. "You assigned a captain before the ship is even finished." "Captain Rodriguez has been training for this command for 2 years," Walsh said. "She knows every system, every backup protocol, every weakness. By the time Phoenix launches, she'll know this ship better than I do." Rilth looked out at the construction crews working in zero gravity, attaching armor plates that seemed absurdly thick by Council standards. She watched automated systems installing weapons that seemed primitive compared to energy-based designs. She saw a warship being built according to principles that the galaxy had abandoned millennia ago. "I do not understand your species," she said quietly. Walsh followed her gaze to the growing carrier. "The Council builds ships hoping never to use them. We build ships knowing we will. That's the difference." Outside, Phoenix continued to take shape. Armored, redundant, built not to avoid damage but to absorb it and keep fighting. In 3 months it would launch. In 6 months it would join the Joint Defense Fleet. And the galaxy would learn what human engineering truly meant. Simulated weapons fire lit up the holographic display in shades of red and blue. Admiral Crane watched the Council fleet execute their standard defensive formation, ships moving with mathematical precision to create overlapping fields of energy shield coverage. It was beautiful. It was elegant. And against a real enemy that did not care about elegance, it would get them all killed. And Rodriguez stood beside him in the observation deck of Defense Station Gamma, watching the same simulation. Phoenix had been operational for 6 months now, and the Joint Defense Fleet had spent that time trying to integrate human tactical doctrine with Council methods. The results were mixed at best. "They treat warfare like a dance," Rodriguez said quietly. Crane nodded. 800 years without major conflict, they've forgotten what real fighting looks like. On the display, the simulated enemy force broke through the Council formation by simply overwhelming one sector with massive firepower. The elegant shield overlap collapsed. Ships that had never been designed to take direct hits began exploding. A Brevali tactical officer turned from his console. "The simulation parameters must be incorrect. No force would concentrate fire so inefficiently." "The Ravagers would," Rodriguez said. "They don't care about efficiency, they care about winning." The tactical officer's translator made an uncertain sound. Rodriguez had learned to read Brevali body language over the past months. This one thought she was wrong, but was too polite to say so directly. "Run Phoenix Combat Drill 7, Rodriguez ordered. The holographic display reset. This time it showed Phoenix alone, facing a simulated enemy force 3 times its size. The carrier did not attempt to avoid fire. Instead, it advanced directly into the enemy formation, launching fighters while absorbing hit after hit on its armored hull. The Brevali officer watched in obvious distress as damage indicators appeared across Phoenix's exterior. "Captain Rodriguez, your ship is taking critical damage." "My ship is doing its job," Rodriguez replied. The simulation continued. Phoenix lost external sensors, backup systems activated. A direct hit penetrated the outer armor. Internal bulkheads sealed automatically. Damage control teams rerouted power. The ship kept fighting. By the time the simulation ended, Phoenix had destroyed the entire enemy force. The carrier showed damage across 60% of its hull. By Council standards, it should have been a total loss. By human standards, it was fully operational. Crane turned to the Brevali officer. "That is human doctrine. We build ships that can take punishment and keep fighting. Your ships are designed never to be hit. Ours are designed to survive being hit." "But the casualties," the officer protested. "Your simulation shows 47 crew members dead." "Better than the 5,000 who would die if the ship was destroyed," Rodriguez said. She tried to keep her voice neutral, but the cultural gap was exhausting. Council species measured success by minimal losses. Humans measured it by mission completion. The briefing room door opened, and Lieutenant Cole Barrett entered, still wearing his flight suit. The fighter wing commander looked tired. He had been running training exercises with Council pilots for 8 hours straight. "How did it go?" Rodriguez asked. Barrett shook his head. "The Ashkan pilots are good, fast reflexes, excellent technical skills, but they break off engagement the moment their shields drop below 50%. I tried to explain that the fight is not over until you complete the objective or you are physically unable to continue. They think I'm insane. You are insane by their standards, Crane said. Their species has not fought a war in living memory. They understand combat as theory, not practice. Rodriguez walked to the window that overlooked the fleet assembly area. 40 council ships floated in formation, sleek and powerful. Phoenix sat among them like a scarred brick, ugly and brutal by comparison. But she would trust that brick with her life before she trusted any of the elegant vessels around it. Admiral, what is the current Ravager status? She asked. Crane's expression darkened. They destroyed the Helios colony 3 days ago, 40,000 civilians. The defense fleet engaged at long range with energy weapons. Standard council tactics. The Ravagers absorbed the fire and kept coming. By the time our ships closed to effective range, it was too late. And command still will not adjust tactics. The Council War Committee believes the answer is more ships, not different strategies. They have commissioned 200 additional vessels of standard design. Rodriguez turned to face him. How long before the Ravagers reach Core Council territory? Intelligence estimates 6 months, maybe less if they continue to accelerate their advance. Barrett moved to stand beside Rodriguez. Captain, my pilots are ready. Phoenix is ready. When do we stop training and start fighting? Soon, Rodriguez said. The fleet is being deployed to the Taran Gap, strategic choke point between the frontier and the core systems. If the Ravagers are coming, they'll come through there. Crane activated a star chart on the holographic display. The Taran Gap appeared as a narrow corridor of stable space between 2 massive nebula fields. Any fleet trying to reach the core worlds would have to pass through it. Joint Defense Fleet Omega will hold the gap, Crane said. 140 council ships and Phoenix. One carrier against what intelligence projects will be a Ravager force of over 1,000 ships, Rodriguez said. The council admirals think we're a support vessel. They expect us to stay back and provide fighter cover for their ships. What do they expect Phoenix to do when the real shooting starts? Barrett asked. Rodriguez smiled without humor. Survive. That's what we do best. The simulation display was still showing the results of Phoenix's combat drill. 47 crew casualties, 60% hull damage, mission successful. The council officers in the room looked at those numbers with horror. Rodriguez looked at them with pride. Phoenix was built for this. Humanity was built for this, and the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. Alarms screamed across every ship in Joint Defense Fleet Omega as the Ravager force dropped out of quantum space like a swarm of metal insects. 1,500 autonomous warships, each one following programming that knew only one directive: destroy and consume. Rodriguez gripped the command rail on Phoenix's bridge as the tactical display lit up with hostile contacts. The numbers kept climbing. 1,500 became 1,600, then 1,700. Intelligence had been wrong, very wrong. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Admiral Crane's voice came over the open channel. Execute Defense Pattern Alpha, long-range engagement, maintain shield overlap. Rodriguez watched the council ships move into their textbook formation. Beautiful precision, perfect coordination, exactly what their doctrine demanded. She wanted to scream. Phoenix will hold position at Grid 774, she said to her crew. All fighter wings prepare for immediate launch on my command. Her tactical officer, a human named Wright, looked up from his console. Captain, Fleet Command has us positioned in the rear support zone. We're 15,000 kilometers behind the main line. I know where we are, Lieutenant. The first energy beams lanced across space. Council ships firing on Ravager vessels at maximum range. Several enemy ships exploded, their crude armor no match for concentrated plasma fire. For 30 seconds, it looked like the Council's strategy was working. Then the Ravager reinforcements arrived. Quantum portals ripped open across the Taran Gap and ships poured through, thousands of them. The tactical display turned solid red with hostile contacts. Rodriguez felt her stomach drop. This was not a raid. This was an extermination fleet. All ships tactical retreat, Crane ordered. Fall back to secondary defensive line. The Council formation began to dissolve. Ships that had been designed to fight at range with shield support were suddenly facing close-quarters combat from enemies that did not care about. Taking damage, a Bravali destroyer took 3 direct hits, Its shields flashed and failed. The fourth hit split the ship in half. Rodriguez made her decision. Helm full forward, take us into the Ravager formation. Captain, Wright stared at her. You heard me. Barrett, launch all fighters. I want every bird in space in the next 2 minutes. Fleet Command has ordered retreat, Wright said. Fleet Command can court-martial me later if we survive. Right now, those ships need time to regroup. We are going to buy them that time. Phoenix surged forward, its massive bulk accelerating toward the Ravager swarm. Behind them, Council ships continued to fall back. Ahead, thousands of enemy vessels turned their attention to the single human carrier driving straight at them. Launch fighters, Rodriguez ordered. 200 strike craft erupted from Phoenix's hangar bays like angry hornets. They formed up in attack groups and dove into the Ravager formation, kinetic rounds tearing through enemy armor at close range. The first impacts against Phoenix's hull came seconds later. Ravager energy weapons designed to overwhelm shields hit the carrier's thick armor and scorched deep gouges across the surface. Damage alerts lit up across every console. Hull breach, Deck 7, Wright reported. Bulkhead sealing. Reroute power from secondary systems to weapons, Rodriguez ordered. I want every gun on this ship firing. Phoenix became a mobile fortress, trading shot for shot with enemy vessels at ranges that made Council tacticians shudder. A Ravager cruiser exploded under focused fire from Phoenix's main batteries. 2 more took its place. Captain, we're taking concentrated fire from multiple vectors, Wright said. Armor integrity at 70%. Damage control teams. Already deployed. They're working on Deck 7 breach now. Rodriguez watched her tactical display. Council ships were regrouping 15,000 kilometers away, but they were not returning to the fight. They were organizing a withdrawal. Phoenix was alone. Then something changed. A Council vessel broke from the retreating formation. Then another. Rodriguez recognized the lead ship's signature. It was Soren's cruiser, an Ashken Unity warship that had been running simulations with Phoenix for the past month. Phoenix, this is Captain Soren, the transmission came through. We are moving to support your position. Negative, Soren. Fall back with the rest of the fleet. With respect, Captain Rodriguez, we have been watching you train for 6 months. You told us that humans do not abandon each other in combat. Today we learned that lesson applies to allies as well. More Council ships turned back. Not all of them, not even half, but enough to matter. The battle turned into a brutal close-quarters brawl. Phoenix took hit after hit, armor plating buckling under sustained fire, but damage control teams sealed breaches faster than the Ravagers could create them. Barrett's fighters destroyed Ravager coordination nodes, throwing their perfect formations into chaos. Soren's ship fought alongside Phoenix, adapting tactics on the fly. Other Council vessels followed his example, abandoning their doctrine of shield-dependent long-range combat and accepting damage to keep fighting. The Ravagers had numbers, but they did not have the ability to adapt. Their programming said to destroy the ships shooting at them, so they focused fire on Phoenix and the vessels supporting it. That gave the regrouped Council fleet time to organize a proper counterattack. When it came, it was devastating. Council ships hit the Ravager formation from 3 directions simultaneously. The enemy's command cluster, already damaged by Barrett's fighter wings, collapsed under the combined assault. The Ravagers did what machines do when their control network fails. They retreated to regroup and analyze. The battle was over. Phoenix hung in space, 40% of its hull scarred or breached. 73 crew members dead, 114 wounded. By Council standards, the carrier should be classified as destroyed. By human standards, it was still in the fight. Rodriguez looked at the casualty reports and felt the weight of every name. Then she looked at the tactical display showing Council ships that had returned to support them. The galaxy was learning, slowly, painfully, but learning. The emergency session of the Galactic Council War Committee had been running for 6 hours straight. Holographic projections showed the battle at Taran Gap from 17 different angles. Every Council member present had watched the same footage at least 3 times. None of them could quite believe what they were seeing. A single human carrier had charged directly into a Ravager fleet that outnumbered it 8-1. The ship had taken. damage that would have destroyed any council vessel twice over, and it had kept fighting. Counselor Vrath of the Torrent Collective paused the footage at the moment Phoenix took its first major hit. "The armor held," he said, his voice processing through the translator with unusual stress patterns. "Their primitive armor plating absorbed a direct energy strike that would have penetrated our shield technology." "Not primitive," Rilth said quietly. She had been called back from the construction yard to brief the committee. "Deliberate. Humans do not build for elegance, they build for survival." The hologram advanced, council ships fleeing, Phoenix advancing, fighter wings engaging at ranges that seemed suicidal by accepted tactical standards. "They accepted catastrophic losses," another counselor said. 73 casualties on a single ship. This is barbaric." "This is effective," Admiral Crane said. He had been granted special permission to address the committee directly. "Phoenix bought time for your fleet to regroup. Without that sacrifice, you would have lost 40 ships instead of 7. I suggest you focus less on how we fight and more on the fact that we won." Counselor Vrath turned to face Crane. "Admiral, your species has been part of the Galactic Council for 5 years. You have participated in joint military operations for 6 months. In that time, you have disregarded established tactical doctrine, ignored standard safety protocols, and now you have engaged in combat that resulted in unacceptable casualties." "And we saved your fleet," Crane replied. "You're welcome." The chamber fell silent. Council politics did not include direct confrontation. The fact that a human had just spoken to a senior counselor with such bluntness was shocking by their standards. Rilth stepped forward. "Counselors, I have completed my analysis of human military culture. With permission, I would like to present my findings." Vrath gestured approval. Rilth activated a historical database, and images began to appear in the holographic display. Ancient human battles, naval warfare on Earth's oceans, armored vehicles fighting across continents, aircraft carriers launching strike fighters during what humans called their world wars. Humanity achieved space travel not through cooperation but through competition, Rilth explained. For their entire recorded history, they fought each other. Their military doctrine is based on 10,000 years of combat experience. When they build a warship, they build it expecting to use it. When they enter battle, they expect casualties. This is not barbaric. This is reality. The images continued. Humans fighting in conditions that would kill most council species. Humans developing weapons designed not for precision, but for overwhelming force. Humans creating military organizations built around the assumption that some soldiers would not return. "They have a saying," Rilth continued. "All warfare is based on deception except the kind where you simply refuse to die. That is human warfare." Counselor Vrath studied the images with his sensory organs cycling through different visual spectrums. "If we adopt human methods, we fundamentally change our society. The Galactic Council has maintained peace for 800 years through careful balance and limited military engagement." "The Ravagers do not care about your peace," Crane said. "They do not care about balance. They will keep coming until they consume everything or we stop them, and you cannot stop them by fighting the way you have always fought." Another counselor activated a tactical projection showing Ravager fleet movements. "Our intelligence now estimates their main force at over 10,000 ships. They are converging on our core worlds. If this projection is accurate, they will arrive within 4 months." "Then I recommend you start building ships that can survive the fight," Crane said. "Council design philosophy is excellent for peacetime. For war, you need something else." The committee members spoke among themselves in their various languages, translators creating a discordant buzz of sound. Finally, Counselor Vrath raised a manipulator appendage for silence. "The War Committee will commission Earth to construct 12 human-design carriers," he announced. "This is significantly fewer than the Admiral requested, but it represents a substantial commitment of resources to an unproven design philosophy." "Unproven?" Crane almost laughed. "Phoenix just proved it at Taran Gap." "One battle is not a war," Vrath replied. "We will evaluate the effectiveness of human carriers in extended combat operations before committing to larger production." Rilth spoke up again. "Counselors, I must also report that several council captains have requested permission to study human tactical methods. Captain Soren of the Ashkin." Unity has submitted a formal proposal to integrate human damage control procedures into his ship's operating protocols. This caused another stir among the committee members. Individual ships adopting foreign military procedures was unprecedented. The Galactic Council military operated on standardized doctrine across all member species. Captain Soren fought alongside Phoenix at Taran Gap, Crane said. He saw what worked. He wants to keep his crew alive. I suggest you let him. The debate continued for another 2 hours, but the outcome was already decided. The galaxy was changing, slowly, reluctantly, but changing nonetheless. Meanwhile, Phoenix sat in orbital dock above a Council repair station. Human damage control teams worked alongside Council engineers, teaching them techniques for rapid hull repair and system redundancy. The Council engineers asked questions. They took notes. They learned. Rodriguez walked through the scarred corridors of her ship, seeing the names stenciled on a memorial wall. 73 crew members who would not go home. She touched each name, committing them to memory. War had come to the Galactic Council, and humanity was teaching them how to survive it. 4 quantum signatures appeared simultaneously in the Hadris system, space distorting as massive vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Phoenix, defiant, relentless, and indomitable hung in formation, their scarred hulls reflecting the light of 3 distant stars. The first human carrier group had arrived. Rodriguez studied the tactical situation from Phoenix's bridge. 3 inhabited planets, 8 million Council civilians, and a Ravager fleet that would arrive in less than 36 hours. Status on evacuation, she asked. Wright checked his console. Council evacuation fleet has lifted 4 million so far. They need at least another 48 hours to get everyone out. They have 36 hours. Captain Admiral Crane sent new orders 10 minutes ago, Wright said carefully. We are to provide fighter cover for the evacuation fleet. We are not authorized to engage the Ravager main force. Rodriguez looked at the tactical display showing estimated Ravager fleet strength. Over 3,000 ships, the largest force they had encountered yet. Connect me to Defiant, Relentless, and Indomitable, she ordered. Secure channel. 3 faces appeared on her communication screen. Captain Raymond. Osai of Defiant, his expression calm despite the situation. Captain Yuki Tanaka of Relentless, studying data even during the call. Captain Samuel Hayes of Indomitable, looking like he had not slept in 2 days. You all received Crane's orders? Rodriguez asked. They nodded. And you all know what happens if we follow those orders. The evacuation fleet gets maybe half the civilians out. The Ravagers destroy 3 planets. Admiral Crane's strategy is sound, Tanaka said. We are bait. The Ravagers come here, we delay them, the main Council fleet hits them from behind. It could work. It could work if we survive long enough, Hayes said. 3,000 Ravager ships versus 4 carriers. Even by human standards, those are bad odds. I am not asking you to follow me into a suicide mission, Rodriguez said. But I am asking you to buy those civilians time, whatever it takes. Osai smiled slightly. And we are human carrier captains. Suicide missions are in the job description. What's the plan? Rodriguez pulled up a tactical overlay. We spread into a defensive sphere around the evacuation corridor. Each carrier becomes an independent fortress, but we coordinate fire to protect each other. Council calls it Wolf Pack Doctrine. Submarines, Hayes said. World War II, Atlantic Ocean, attack independently, support collectively. Exactly, we cannot win this fight, but we can delay it long enough for every civilian to evacuate, and we can hurt them badly enough that when the Council fleet arrives, they can finish the job. The other 3 captains looked at each other across the communication channels. Rodriguez knew what they were thinking. 73 dead on Phoenix at Taran Gap. Those were casualties from 1 carrier in a battle they won. This fight would be worse. I'm in, Osai said first. Relentless will hold position, Tanaka confirmed. Hayes hesitated only a moment. Indomitable is ready. The communication ended. Rodriguez turned to her crew. All hands, this is the captain. In 36 hours, we will face the largest Ravager fleet encountered to date. Our mission is to protect the evacuation of 8 million civilians. We will hold position regardless of damage sustained. That is all. She did not mention that Admiral Crane expected casualties. She did not mention that Council Command considered this a delaying action, not a battle they could win. Her crew already knew. The next 36 hours passed in preparation. Fighter wings armed and ran pre-flight checks. Damage control teams pre-positioned equipment in critical areas. Medical staff prepared for mass casualties. Engineers reinforced structural weak points and established backup power routes. Rodriguez found Barrett in the hangar bay, inspecting his fighter personally. "How are the pilots?" she asked. "Ready," Barrett said. "Scared but ready, they know what this is." "What about you?" Barrett smiled without humor. "I flew in the Titan Station raid, lost half my wing against Ravager defenders. The ones who made it back did so because we accepted that some of us would not. I'm ready." The Ravager fleet arrived early. Alarms screamed across all 4 carriers as quantum portals opened and ships began pouring through. The count climbed rapidly. 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 more. "Evacuation fleet status," Rodriguez demanded. "Last transport is loading now," Wright reported. "They need 12 more minutes." Rodriguez opened the fleet channel. "All carriers' defensive positions, launch all fighters, buy them 12 minutes. Phoenix moved to the center of the formation. Defiant took the forward position. Relentless covered the left flank. Indomitable held the right. 200 fighters from each carrier filled the space between them, creating a defensive screen. The Ravagers attacked in waves, precise, coordinated, overwhelming. Defiant took the first concentrated assault. Energy beams raked across its hull, armor plating glowing white-hot under sustained fire. The carrier's main engines exploded. It kept fighting on maneuvering thrusters alone. Relentless lost half its launch bays to a direct hit. Pilots landed on damaged flight decks under active fire, some crashing, some making it through. The carrier maintained position. Indomitable took a direct hit to its reactor. Backup power systems activated. Emergency protocols engaged. The ship went dark for 40 seconds. Then lights came back on and weapons resumed firing. Phoenix coordinated the defense, directing fire to protect the other carriers, taking hits meant for them. Rodriguez watched her ship absorb punishment that would have destroyed any Council vessel. "Evacuation fleet has cleared the system," Wright reported. "All carriers begin fighting withdrawal," Rodriguez ordered. Indomitable did not respond. "Indomitable, confirm." "Status," Rodriguez said. Static, then Hayes' voice, barely audible. "Phoenix, this is Hayes. We have lost structural integrity in sections 4 through 9. Reactor containment failing. I'm ordering evacuation, but we cannot maneuver." Rodriguez felt ice in her stomach. Defiant, Relentless moved to support Indomitable's position. "Negative," Hayes said. "Ravagers are converging on our location. You'll be destroyed trying to reach us." "Samuel, we don't leave people behind." "And you have 8,000 crew members across 3 ships. I have 2,000. Do the math, get them out." The transmission ended. Rodriguez watched Indomitable's icon on the tactical display, surrounded by red hostile markers. The carrier was still firing, still fighting, buying seconds for the other ships to withdraw. Then the icon went dark. Sunlight reflected off the construction facility hanging in Earth orbit, the largest shipyard ever built by any species in Council space. 50 carrier frames stretched across the void in various stages of completion. Each one bore a name. Each one represented a lesson learned in blood. Rodriguez floated in zero gravity outside the memorial station that had been built alongside the construction yard. The wall contained 10,000 names, Council species and humans, casualties from 2 years of war against the Ravagers. The name Samuel Hayes was there, along with every crew member lost when Indomitable made its final stand. "Admiral Rodriguez," a voice said behind her. She turned to see Rin, the Brevali pilot who had once questioned human combat methods. He now commanded a Council carrier built with human consultation, incorporating armor depth and redundant systems into traditional Council design. "Captain Rin," Rodriguez acknowledged. The translator could not quite capture the warmth in her voice. "How is Vigilance performing?" "My ship took direct hits during the Outer Rim campaign," Rin said. "Armor held, damage control teams sealed breaches in under 3 minutes. Human methods saved my crew." He paused. "I wanted to thank you before the alert." "Alert?" Rin's posture shifted to what Rodriguez had learned meant urgency. Ravager forces are massing at the edge of Council space. Every available ship has been called to defend the homeworld. This is their final offensive. Rodriguez felt the old familiar weight settle onto her shoulders. How many? Estimate 10,000 ships, everything they have left. They moved together back toward the docking station, where Rodriguez's shuttle waited. Through the transparent hull, she could see Earth below. The planet that had been considered primitive just 2 years ago was now the primary shipbuilder for the entire Galactic Council. "What is our fleet strength?" Rodriguez asked. 200 Council vessels, 30 human carriers, combined crews of 120,000. Rodriguez did the mathematics automatically. Even with human carriers, they were outnumbered 20-1, but she had fought worse odds. They all had. The shuttle took them to Phoenix, still Rodriguez's flagship despite commanding the entire human carrier fleet. The old girl had been repaired, upgraded, and repaired again. Her hull bore scars from 15 major engagements. Her crew had been reduced, replaced, and rebuilt 3 times over. But she still flew. The bridge was exactly as Rodriguez remembered. Different faces at some stations, but the same determined expressions. Wright had been promoted to executive officer. Barrett still commanded the fighter wings, though his hair had gone gray at the temples. "Admiral on deck," someone called. "As you were," Rodriguez said. "Status report." "All 30 carriers are operational," Wright reported. "Council fleet is forming up around the homeworld. Admiral Soren is commanding the Ashkan Unity contingent. He requested permission to position his ships alongside Phoenix." Rodriguez smiled slightly. Soren had learned well. "Granted, what's the tactical situation?" The holographic display showed the Council homeworld surrounded by defensive positions. 200 Council ships in layered formations. 30 human carriers distributed throughout the fleet like armored anchors. And beyond them, at the edge of sensor range, a red mass that represented 10,000 Ravager vessels. "They are waiting," Tanaka said over the communication channel. She commanded Relentless Still, rebuilt after the Battle of Hadris. "Why are they waiting?" "Analyzing us," Rodriguez said. "Learning from every battle we have fought. They are machines, they adapt." "So do we," Osai added from Defiant. The waiting ended 6 hours later. The Ravager fleet moved forward as a single coordinated mass. No individual tactics, no complex maneuvers, just overwhelming force applied directly. "All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez," she transmitted across the fleet-wide channel. "Human and Council crews, you have trained together, fought together, bled together. Today we end this war. Hold your positions, trust your armor, trust your training, trust each other." The battle began at maximum range. Council ships with improved armor withstood the initial Ravager assault. Human carriers pushed forward, creating strongpoints around which the fleet could anchor. Fighter wings from 30 carriers filled space with kinetic fire. It was brutal, it was chaotic, it was nothing like the elegant warfare the Council had practiced for centuries. And it worked. Rodriguez watched Rin's carrier absorb hits and keep fighting, his crew executing damage control procedures that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. She saw Soren coordinate his squadron to protect a damaged human carrier, accepting fire meant for the larger vessel. She saw Council and human ships fighting not as separate forces, but as one fleet. The Ravagers pushed harder. A human carrier was destroyed, then another. Council ships fell back, reformed, pushed forward again. The battle was not measured in minutes but in hours, brutal, grinding, each side refusing to yield. Rodriguez felt Phoenix shudder under sustained fire. Damage reports flooded her console, but the old carrier held, just like always. "Ravager formation is breaking," Wright reported. "Their command network is fragmenting." Rodriguez leaned forward. "All carriers, concentrate fire on their command clusters. Council ships exploit the gaps in their formation." The tide turned slowly. Ravagers began to disengage, their coordination falling apart. Council ships pursued, no longer the cautious defenders but aggressive attackers who had learned that sometimes victory requires accepting damage. When it ended, the debris field stretched for thousands of kilometers. The Council fleet had lost 40 ships. 8 human carriers were gone, 30,000 casualties across both forces. But the Ravager threat was over. Rodriguez stood at the memorial wall 3 days later, adding new names. Hayes' sacrifice at Hadris had bought time for civilians. These sacrifices had bought survival for the galaxy. Rin joined her at the wall. My people have a saying now, taught to all military cadets. When faced with impossible odds, ask what a human would do, then do that. Rodriguez touched the names on the wall. Humans would remember the cost, always remember the cost. Above them, carriers continued to be built. The galaxy was at peace, but the carriers remained, standing watch, standing ready. Because humanity had taught the galaxy one final lesson: hope is not given, it is earned. And sometimes the price of earning it is paid in names on a wall.